It was a wonderfully sunny day, perfect for doing laundry, so I headed to the bedroom and reached for the sheets. What the? I noticed several strands of hair on the pillow that were definitely not mine. They were much longer and lighter in color than my own hair. A shiver of disgust ran down my spine. Could it be? Is Ryan bringing a woman into our bedroom? Unbelievable. The thought of a stranger using the bed I slept in this morning made me feel sick. There had been many suspicious things before, but now I was certain. A year passed. After gathering enough evidence of his affair, I devised a plan to confront him. Unbeknownst to my husband, he brought his lover into our home again today. They were getting cozy in the bedroom.
Oh my! What is that?
Ryan and his lover looked up at the ceiling and were horrified by what they saw. My name is Lynn. I met my husband Ryan in college, where we were both part of the literature club. We quickly hit it off due to our shared taste in books, started dating, and eventually got married after graduation. Ryan not only loves reading novels but also writes his own. Since college, he's been ambitiously submitting his work to various literary contests, dreaming of becoming a novelist, but he hasn't had much success. Meanwhile, I was lucky enough to land a job at a major company, so I was the primary breadwinner for our household initially. I'm such a failure, making you work so hard, Lynn. Ryan would always apologize, feeling guilty. Don't worry about it. I want to support your dream. It's tough right now, but we'll get through it together. I encouraged Ryan, telling him that I truly wanted to support his dream. Years passed, but none of Ryan's works won any awards, and even when he submitted them to publishers, there was no response. I guess I don't have the talent to be a novelist, Ryan muttered one day. Unable to bear the lack of success, he decided to give up on being a novelist. His decision pained me, but I didn't say anything since it was his choice. However, through a connection at a publisher where he had submitted his work, Ryan got the opportunity to write a script for a TV drama. The drama became moderately successful, and gradually, Ryan started getting more work as a screenwriter. 10 years passed. Ryan was now a mid-level screenwriter, busier than ever. Recently, he had been out a lot for meetings and was rarely home. I'm home. Man, I'm exhausted. Welcome back. You seem really busy these days. I'm cooking dinner. Do you want to eat now? Yeah, things have been hectic. I'll eat later. I'm gonna take a bath first. Ryan headed to the bathroom, shedding his suit messily in the hallway as he went. Geez, he's so sloppy. Can't he at least put away his own clothes? Even if he's tired from work, he should be more tidy. I sighed as I picked up his scattered clothes. This is such a mess. Wait, what's that smell? When I picked up his dress shirt, I caught an unfamiliar scent. It was clearly women's perfume, not our detergent or fabric softener. The perfume was strong and flowery, something young women might like. Could it have transferred from a work colleague? Feeling suspicious, but thinking it wasn't worth asking about, I put his clothes in the washing machine. However, the same perfume smell started appearing on his clothes repeatedly. Once, I even found lipstick on one of his shirts. Could he be having an affair? While it was possible for perfume to transfer during work, how could lipstick end up on his shirt? I finally decided to confront Ryan directly. Hey, I found lipstick on your shirt. I held up the dress shirt and pointed at the stain. Ryan looked shocked for a moment but quickly forced a nervous smile. Oh, I was out drinking at a club with an important network executive last night. A waitress accidentally bumped into me. That's how it happened. A waitress at a club? And what about the strong perfume on your clothes lately? Ryan started to panic as I pressed him further. The perfume? It's probably from one of my meeting partners. We meet frequently, so it must have transferred. Why are you looking at me like that? Are you accusing me of something? It never used to be like this. It's natural for me to be suspicious. Are you cheating on me? What?
Don't say such awful things. I'm working my tail off here. Do you think I have time for an affair?
Ryan yelled, trying to cover up something. I didn't have any concrete evidence, just my suspicions. You're right, I'm sorry. I got too emotional. Good. But don't bring up such trivial things again. Okay, I'll be careful. I apologized and ended the conversation, unable to push further. But my instincts as a wife kept nagging at me. There was something off about his behavior. From his behavior, I could tell he was hiding something. Not long after, strange things started happening at home. Wait, that's odd. Didn't I just buy this? I noticed my makeup on the bedroom dresser. It was running out faster than usual. Then I realized that some rarely used bags and clothes from the closet were missing. Am I just imagining things because I've been busy with work? No, that couldn't be it. Someone was definitely stealing my things. Convinced, I decided to talk to Ryan first. My personal belongings have been disappearing without me noticing. Maybe we've had a break-in. We should call the police. What? A break-in? Nothing of mine is missing. Maybe you're just mistaken. I thought so at first, too, but there's definitely something wrong. You're imagining things. You're making a big deal out of nothing. Despite my insistence that there might have been a break-in, Ryan wouldn't take me seriously. He kept dismissing it as my imagination, and I finally snapped. Just because none of your stuff is missing doesn't mean we should ignore this. I'm sure it's a thief. Even if you don't want to, I'm calling the police. The word police made Ryan panic.
Wait. If we call the police, the neighbors will find out, and it'll look bad. Things are actually missing, so who cares about appearances?
But it's only your stuff that's gone. It has to be your imagination. I'm busy with work, so don't waste my time with this. Don't bring the hassle of the police into this. Ryan's reasoning seemed logical, but his voice had a slight tremble, and he was clearly agitated. His behavior only made me more suspicious. This much panic is definitely strange. In the end, he strongly opposed calling the police, so I couldn't go through with it. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Ryan knew why my things were disappearing. One day, while I was off work, I decided to catch up on house chores. Ryan was out for a work meeting. It was a bright, sunny day. So I headed to the bedroom to do some laundry. I started with the sheets, and as I reached for the mattress, I noticed several strands of hair on the pillow. At first, I thought they were mine, but they were much longer and lighter in color. They weren't Ryan's either. So whose hair was this? A chill ran down my spine at the thought. Could Ryan be bringing a woman into our bedroom? Unbelievable. The idea that some unknown woman had used the bed I slept in this morning made me feel sick. There had been many suspicious things before, but now I was certain. But this hair alone wouldn't be enough evidence. I needed something undeniable to confront Ryan with. Thinking this, I contacted a powerful ally. When I explained the details to him, he gave me precise advice on what to do next. It's painful to be betrayed by Ryan, but I can't just wallow in self-pity. I have to be strong. Following his advice, I visited a detective agency during my breaks from work and hired them to investigate Ryan. The professionals handled it smoothly, and within half a month, I received a report about Ryan. What has Ryan been doing behind my back, and with whom? Reading this report would reveal everything. The thought of finding out made me scared, but I couldn't let fear stop me. Otherwise, Ryan would continue to think he could deceive me. I gathered my courage and started reading the report from the detective. My instincts were right all along. As I finished reading the report, a mix of anger and dismay welled up inside me. Part of me had hoped that the affair was just a misunderstanding. But the facts in the report were far worse than I had imagined. Ryan probably thought he'd never get caught. But I couldn't stay silent after being treated like this. I didn't just want to confront him with the affair, I wanted more. So, I devised a long-term plan. to ensure Ryan faced a harsh punishment. A year later, I told Ryan I was going on a business trip out of town. But there was no trip. I wanted him to let his guard down. I knew exactly what my unfaithful husband would do in my absence. I checked the footage from the surveillance cameras I had discreetly installed throughout the house. Watching remotely while waiting nearby, I saw Ryan, unaware of the cameras, bringing a young woman into our home. "Hey, is it true your wife is gone for a while?" "Yeah. That old hag's not here, so let's have a blast today." "Oh, you're bad." They laughed and headed to the bedroom. Every word and expression mocking me was perfectly recorded by the hidden cameras. Unaware of the cameras, they eagerly undressed and got into bed. Just watching them made me feel nauseous, but I held it in for the sake of my plan. Then, as they were embracing, they both looked up at the ceiling.
Oh no! What is that? What the hell? Why is this here?
They screamed in shock, their faces filled with horror. The mistress was screaming, "This is disgusting." "What is that?" While Ryan yelled, "Did Lynn do this?" Seeing their panic, I smiled secretly. I had been waiting for this day since the day I found out about Ryan's affair and swore revenge. Their reaction was expected. The ceiling was covered with photos taken by the detective I hired. The photos included shots of them cuddling on dates and even naked in bed, just like today. In the center, I had also posted a completed divorce application.
Surprise! How does it feel to fool around while looking at your own ugly faces?
When I shouted and entered the bedroom, they were frozen in shock.
Lynn! Why are you here? I thought you were on a business trip.
Ryan, completely naked, hurriedly started putting on his pants. His panicked state was so ridiculous that I couldn't help but laugh. The mistress, seeing me, gasped and pulled the sheets up to cover herself. If it weren't for the photos on the ceiling, they would have continued their little romp naked.
What is this? This is sick!
Ignoring his own actions, Ryan yelled at me, his face red with anger. "Oh really? And who's the one being sick here? Everyone knows about your dirty deeds." Just then, Ryan's phone rang. He answered it quickly, but as the call continued, his face turned pale. Eventually, the call ended, and Ryan collapsed to his knees on the floor. The producer said they're not gonna hire me to write scripts anymore. Why all of a sudden? It seemed that the drama producer had informed him that they would be hiring a different screenwriter from now on. Ryan looked utterly confused, but it was all part of my plan. I had live-streamed the footage from the surveillance cameras to Ryan's work contacts, including the producer and the sponsors. The TV industry avoids scandals at all costs. Sponsors of TV dramas are especially concerned about public perception. If the screenwriter is caught in an affair, they'd quickly pull funding. Afraid of the scandal spreading, the producer cut ties with Ryan before it could affect them. Watching Ryan's dismay, I couldn't help but smirk. Realizing who was behind this, he glared at me with a furious expression.
You! This is your doing! How could you do this? This is a joke!
Ryan, ignoring his own infidelity, spat in anger, shouting at me. "What are you talking about? This is your own doing.
Even if you didn't like my affair, you went too far. Do you have no heart?"
"How dare you say that? You brought your mistress into our marital bedroom while I was away. Do you really think you can lecture me about having no heart?" Aye. Ryan was at a loss for words, unable to withstand my harsh criticism. "Did you think I wouldn't notice? And that girl, she's been stealing my things. How could I not notice? Your mistress has some sticky fingers." I turned my focus to his mistress. Her name was Anna, a newbie actress. She was still naked and looking down in shame. My cosmetics, which had been disappearing from the bedroom, were all taken by her. She would steal my makeup and bags, using what she liked and selling the rest online. The detective had uncovered all of this. The surveillance cameras had clearly recorded Anna stealing my things. I'm going to give the footage of you stealing to the police." At my words, Anna panicked.
If you do that, my acting career is over. Please, don't call the police. Your acting career? You're just a criminal, having an affair with a married man and stealing from his wife. But Ryan told me, take whatever you like, it's my wife's stuff. How could he?
Anna started to cry, but I had no intention of forgiving her. Without hesitation, I submitted the footage of Anna stealing to the police as evidence. The surveillance camera footage was undeniable proof, and Anna was arrested on charges of theft. She had been cast in a drama, but due to the arrest, she was dropped from the role. This would likely mark the end of her acting career. Anna had been working as a hostess at a club to support herself while pursuing her acting career. It was there that Ryan, as a customer, met her. Using his position as a screenwriter, Ryan had enticed Anna by promising her a role in a drama if she became involved with him. Thinking they wouldn't be caught, they did whatever they pleased.
I was wrong. Even though I had a wife like you, I was deceived by a young woman.
Ryan was on his knees, groveling before me as I looked down at him coldly. Deceived? It's pathetic how you're still trying to protect yourself. I know it was you who initiated the affair with Anna. Thinking I was unaware, Ryan lied to my face. However, over the past year, with the help of a detective, I had uncovered almost everything about his infidelity.
But I need you, Lynn. I swear I'll change and do better. Please, don't divorce me.
No.
I can't stand the sight of you or stepping into the bedroom where you slept with your mistress. I'm moving out and divorcing you. Please, reconsider.
Crying pathetically, Ryan clung to me, but I shook him off and left what used to be our home. That house was now full of painful memories. I would never return. I moved to a new place, without telling Ryan where it was. During a discussion about our future, I presented him with a completed divorce application, demanding a divorce. Ryan refused, leading to a court battle. The evidence of Ryan's infidelity that I presented in court quickly led to the divorce being finalized. Ryan was clearly at fault, and through my lawyer, I demanded a significant amount in alimony.
I can't pay this. Please, reduce the amount, even just a little.
Audaciously, Ryan asked for a reduction in the alimony, but I denied his request. Everything was finally settled. I returned to work at the company after taking a necessary leave for the trial. Then, the company's director, my father, spoke to me.
It must have been tough. If you need any more help, don't hesitate to ask. Thanks, Dad.
It was my father who had helped me arrange for the detective and the lawyer. I work at my father's large advertising company, but I didn't get the job through his connections. I wanted to succeed on my own merits. My father understood this about me, so he would watch over me without interfering unless I asked for help. When this affair scandal happened, it was the first time I consulted my father since getting married. The punishment for Ryan was carried out based on my father's advice. He was furious about Ryan's actions, and given his significant influence in the TV industry, Ryan's career as a screenwriter was effectively over. Ryan, having spent most of his savings on his mistress, had little money left. Losing his job meant he couldn't afford to pay me alimony. But I wasn't going to let the humiliation I suffered go unpaid. No matter what, I would make sure to collect the money. Eventually, Ryan quit screenwriting and took up a well-paying manual labor job. For someone as thin and indoorsy as Ryan, working outside was likely very tough. But without work, he couldn't afford to pay alimony or even his living expenses. From what I heard, he was working hard, despite complaining and sweating through it. As for me, I was now happily single and more focused on my career than ever. I quickly climbed to a managerial position, making my job my life's goal. However, I hit it off with a guy from one of my business partners, and he recently confessed to me that he wanted me to go out with him on the premise of marriage. I told him about my divorce and how I was betrayed by my ex-husband's affair, explaining that I was done with love. But he wasn't deterred and expressed his sincere desire to have a serious relationship with me. We started dating, and I introduced him to my father recently.
This girl was once betrayed by a terrible man. Can you make Lynn happy?
He nodded confidently at my father's words. My father liked him and gave his approval, saying this man could take care of me. Believing in my father's words, I hoped to build a happy family this time. My name is Michelle Johnson. I have a husband who's 2 years older than me and a daughter in elementary school. Both my husband and I work. I was a dedicated designer at a certain apparel company. Then one day, I received a phone call at work.
What? My parents were in an accident.
I was in shock. It turned out that my parents had died in an accident while on vacation. My parents, who were close to each other, used to go on trips about once a month. On that day, it seemed they were driving to a tourist destination, but they apparently fell off a cliff on the way. They were found by a passerby, but it was too late. I was stunned, but I managed to leave work early and decided to call my husband first. Hey.
I need to talk to you about something important. What is it? I'm busy, you know?
My husband sounded irritated over the phone. Even so, I took a deep breath and continued the conversation.
Actually, my dad and mom have passed away. Really? Is that true?
Yes.
They had an accident during their trip. When they were found, it was already too late.
As I talked about my parents, I couldn't help but cry. I was sobbing while on the phone.
Ah, what a hassle. Stop crying, will you? How can you say it's a hassle? My parents are gone. I'm on a business trip right now. Don't call me for such trivial things. Trivial? That's a terrible thing to say. What do you think my parents were to me? Of course, I appreciate what they did for me, but to me, they were practically strangers. Besides, there's no point dwelling on the dead. There might be a funeral coming up, but I can't attend. What? Even though they're family? I told you, as far as I'm concerned, they were strangers. I can't afford to take off work for strangers. So, don't call me anymore.
With that, my husband hung up the call abruptly. I wondered how he could say such cruel things. At that moment, I felt something break inside me. In the beginning, my husband always put me first and seemed to care a lot about me. When he found out I was pregnant, he cried with joy, and during the pregnancy, he was very considerate, almost to the point where I felt embarrassed. Even after our daughter was born, we used to have a good time together, but about a year ago, he started acting distant towards me. He stopped coming home often, and his attitude towards me grew colder. It wasn't that he disliked me, he just seemed to lose interest in me. He used to notice even the slightest changes in me, but now, even if I cut my hair short, he wouldn't care. No matter how much I tried to dress up to catch his attention, he would ridicule me instead.
Come on, at your age, why are you wearing that outfit? You're not young anymore, stop wearing floral skirts. You look shabby.
That's horrible. You used to compliment me.
You've gained weight since we got married, haven't you? I guess having a child really takes away a woman's charm. This is like a fraud.
He would mock my appearance like this. His unkind words hurt me deeply. Our daughter seemed to notice that we weren't getting along. She always seemed worried about me when I was being subjected to his harsh words. One day, as I sat in the living room, deep in thought, my mother-in-law, who was living with us, came over. Actually, we built our own house and started living with my in-laws when our daughter started elementary school. Seeing me cry, my mother-in-law looked displeased.
Hey, what's a grown woman like you crying for?
Actually, my dad and mom just died.
What? How?
They had an accident on their trip.
Both of them gone at once, they really were inseparable. But hey, you're lucky to get the insurance money for both of them. Let's go out for a nice meal with everyone to celebrate. How can you say that? My parents have died. How can you be so cruel? People die eventually, it just happened sooner for them. Stop crying and get dinner ready, will you? I'm hungry.
My mother-in-law is what you'd call a classic case of a difficult mother-in-law. I had hoped that hearing about my parents' death, she would offer some kind words. But it seemed she didn't have a compassionate bone in her body. So, I started preparing for the funeral with the help of my relatives. My husband, claiming he was too busy with work, didn't even attend. I couldn't believe how heartless he was. After my parents' funeral, I decided to start preparing for a divorce. Once everything was in order, I left a voicemail for my husband, who was still on his business trip.
I'm going on a long business trip. Please, take good care of your parents.
That's all I said in the message. I had no more regrets. I left the house where I had lived for so many years with my belongings. A few hours later, while working at the office, I was called in by HR. My husband, drenched in sweat, had come looking for me. I had been ignoring his calls. He probably thought he'd find me at work. Truthfully, I didn't even want to see his face anymore, but I didn't want to cause a scene at work, so I reluctantly agreed to meet him. When I stepped into the entrance, there he was, looking extremely flustered.
Michelle! What's this all about? Mom and Dad are in a mess. Give me a break. I'm sorry, but you can't just show up like this. I'm working, you know? Besides, weren't you supposed to be on a business trip? I rushed back as soon as I got Dad's call. After you left, they were struggling without you. Mom's in the hospital, Dad's bedridden, and your stuff is gone. What happened?
I decided to explain everything to him, step by step.
Your mother's diabetes got worse, and she had to be hospitalized urgently. You knew she had diabetes, right? I knew, but it wasn't a big deal, was it? She always seemed fine at home. She might have looked fine, but her condition was serious. She collapsed with a severe headache. After some tests, they said she needed to be hospitalized. She wasn't taking her medication or going to her doctor's appointments, so her condition worsened. And why is Dad bedridden? Your father threw out his back trying to take your mother to the hospital. He's always had a weak back. And trying to lift your mother, who's nearly 220 pounds, didn't help. What? Really?
My husband was visibly shocked and speechless for a while. My mother-in-law had been suffering from diabetes for about 2 years. She always loved greasy foods and high-calorie snacks, often snacking whenever she had time. I tried to make low-calorie meals for her, considering her condition, but it seemed more annoying to her than anything else.
What is this? The meatloaf hardly tastes like meat. I added soy pulp to the meatloaf, thinking it would help you feel fuller and be better for your health. This is inedible. I don't want to eat such a poor meal. I'm not eating this food.
With that, my mother-in-law threw the meatloaf I made into the sink. This wasn't the first time she had discarded a meal I prepared. Even seeing her do this, my husband turned a blind eye. Worse, he would sometimes blame me for it.
Can't you stop doing things that upset Mom? Like that meatloaf, you're practically picking a fight. I was thinking of her health. If she keeps eating high-calorie meals, it could be life-threatening. That's none of your business. Let her eat what she wants. And don't you dare do something like this again. I'm the one who has to deal with the fallout.
As for my father-in-law, he never got involved in our arguments. It was more about not wanting to get dragged into it than indifference. I can't believe I put up with my husband and mother-in-law for so long. I had thought about divorce many times. But I hesitated because I didn't want to take my daughter's father away from her. Living without a father isn't always seen positively. But I can't live with this man anymore. I've made up my mind.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to talk to you anymore. Can you please leave? I don't want to cause trouble at work. No! I need answers. Let's talk properly. Fine. Let's go somewhere else.
It was lunchtime. So we decided to go to a nearby cafe. As soon as we sat down, my husband asked,
So, what are you going to do about Mom and Dad? You're gonna quit your job and take care of them, right?
What? Why should I, a stranger, take care of them? They're your parents. You deal with it. They're your parents, so you should take care of them.
Stranger? They're my mom and dad. Sure, we're not blood related, but we're still family.
Well, we're going to be strangers soon, so it's none of my business anymore. Why should I care for your parents after we're divorced?
Strangers? What are you talking about?
He seemed to be missing the important point. Didn't you see the divorce papers I left in the living room? I've already filled in my part. I need you to sign it too.
Divorce?
He was so preoccupied with his parents' situation that he hadn't paid much attention to the house. He was so shocked that he stood up abruptly. Please sit down, you're drawing attention.
Michelle, are you serious about this divorce?
Dead serious. Do I look like someone who jokes?
I thought you were just going on a long business trip.
That was a lie. I'm actually transferring to a different department in another state. The move is a bit later, though.
What? I didn't hear anything about that.
After I told my company that I might get divorced, they offered me a transfer. And I'm not telling you which state I'm going to.
What? Are you really serious about getting divorced?
He looked at me in disbelief, not expecting things to have progressed this far without his knowledge.
Divorcing will hurt our daughter. Have you thought about her?
Are you in any position to say that? After all the betrayals?
What? What are you talking about? I haven't betrayed you. On the contrary, I've been working for you and our family. Don't you have any gratitude for me?
Gratitude? When you hardly contributed to our living expenses? My husband stumbled over his words at that. He had started contributing less to our living expenses about 2 years ago, citing a decrease in his salary. Initially, we split the expenses evenly, but gradually, more of the burden fell on me. There were even times when he didn't contribute a single cent. Fortunately, I worked for a decent company and earned a fairly good salary. Even more than my husband. You don't contribute to the living expenses, leave all the childcare to me, and at home, there's a mean mother-in-law who picks on me. What benefit do I have staying with you?
There's no such thing as benefits or drawbacks in a marriage. We married because we loved each other.
Maybe I felt that way back then, but not anymore. You love someone else now, don't you?
What are you talking about?
He said this, but his eyes were clearly darting around, betraying his nervousness. I know about it. You've been having an affair with a young woman at work. It's been going on for about a year now, hasn't it? Her name is Lily, right? A slender woman with long black hair, just your type.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about? Are you confused or has someone been feeding you lies?
No, I hired a private detective to investigate you. I suspected you might be cheating, but I never thought it would be with a woman 10 years younger. And she's married, right? Just got married, and yet, is this okay?
You investigated me?
Of course. If we're getting divorced, I have to look out for my own interests. With this, I'll get compensation from both of you, which should stabilize my life for a while. He must have thought his affair was a secret. He was visibly shocked. After deciding to divorce my husband, I hired a private detective to investigate. Since he stopped coming home, his behavior had become suspicious. He started locking his phone, making secretive calls in another room, leaving the house with unusually large bags. I tried not to worry, but he was indeed having an affair. The woman was a temp worker. Apparently, it was she who made advances towards my husband.
She was the one who approached me. She never seemed satisfied with just one man and hit on me at a drinking party. Of course, I rejected her, but she was persistent, and I couldn't resist.
So, you're saying it's not your fault? Sure, she was seeing other men, but you're also responsible for getting involved.
What? She was with other men?
According to the detective, she's been with at least 3 others besides you.
She told me I was the only one.
My husband slammed his fist on the table, showing his irritation. From the detective agency's investigation, I found out that the woman he was having an affair with is married to a high-ranking executive of a major company. She's nearly 2 decades older than my husband, and it seems like she married him for his money. My husband's infidelity is bad enough, but she's no better. In a way, they're two of a kind.
But I was just messing around with her. It was just a casual thing, you know. Neither of us intended to ruin our families. You think messing around excuses everything? Maybe I can deal with it, but what about our daughter? What if she gets harassed at school because of your affair? That's the fault of whoever's spreading rumors. It's the kids who poke their noses into other people's business that are the problem.
You always blame others. You cheated and you haven't even said sorry once. You show no remorse at all.
I'm sorry, okay? I'll break it off with her. Isn't that enough?
It's far from enough. I'm leaving you, and I'll be demanding alimony from both of you. At the mention of alimony, my husband's face turned pale.
If you go after her for alimony, that means you'll have to tell Lily's husband about us, right? Lily just got married, that's so unfair to her.
The one who deserves sympathy is Lily's husband, who got betrayed right after getting married. And for your information, I've already informed Lily's husband about the affair.
What?
You hadn't heard from Lily?
No, she's been off sick from work for a while, and I couldn't get in touch with her.
She must have been too shocked to contact anyone.
Are you serious? What am I going to do if this gets out at work?
You brought this on yourself. And you two were using your paid leave to meet up, weren't you?
How do you know all this?
You've been on business trips a lot lately, so I asked your company about it. They said you weren't on any trips, just using your paid leave. I checked, and Lily was off on the same days. You were meeting up, right?
What?
My husband fell silent, looking down. He must know he's caught. Just then, an unexpected person approached us.
What are you doing here?
Weren't you on paid leave today?
Boss?
It was my husband's boss from the same department. Apparently, the boss often comes to this cafe around lunchtime. My husband looked embarrassed.
You said you needed the day off for family matters, right? Yes, that's right.
His boss, sensing something was off, seemed to have put 2 and 2 together. I decided to fill him in on the situation. He knew I was his wife, as we had met a couple of times before. Actually, this guy's been having an affair with a young woman at work, a temp named Lily Young.
What?
Is that true? His boss shouted, loud enough for others to hear.
Boss, please lower your voice, everyone's looking.
Of course they are. I'd be shocked too if my employee was having an affair. And he used his paid leave to meet up with her. You did that during our busiest time?
I'm sorry. I'm going to break up with her, so can you keep it a secret from the other employees?
What are you saying? Of course, I'm going to report this. You're in sales, right? Sales is about selling your character as much as the product. No one's going to buy anything from someone who betrays his own family. You might not get fired, but don't think you can stay in your current department.
Wait, please. I don't know any other kind of work, and if I'm transferred, my salary.
I don't care about your problems. You should be apologizing to your wife. You've hurt her.
I know I did something wrong, but this has nothing to do with my job.
It does, that's why I'm telling you. I've lost all trust in you. We have plenty of capable employees. I'll find someone else to lead the next project. It turned out my husband was the leader of an important project. If it succeeded, he was almost guaranteed a promotion. He had been preparing for it for a long time.
That's not fair. You said I was the right person for the job.
Not anymore. I've lost all faith in you. I'll report to the higher-ups right away. Excuse me. After his boss left the cafe, my husband just hung his head. His boss said he was supposed to take a lunch break, but he had to go back to the office right away to report about my husband.
It's over. Everything was going so well. Why did it have to come to this?
His voice trembled, and he looked like he might cry any moment.
I'm going to leave the rest to my lawyer, so let's discuss through him from now on. I left his business card on the living room table, so give him a call if there's anything. You're really serious about divorcing me?
He asked me with tears in his eyes. It seemed too late for such questions. I nodded firmly.
That's what I said. I can't stand living with a cheater anymore. And I've had enough of your mother too. You always turned a blind eye when she was mean to me. I told you several times I wanted to stop living with her, but you wouldn't listen. You never took my side, even though you saw how she treated me. You always said I was overthinking it. I didn't realize you were so troubled about my mom. I'll be more careful from now on. It's too late for that. You'll have your hands full with visiting the hospital and caregiving for your parents. There's no way I can manage that. Hospital bills aren't cheap, and I have to work. How am I supposed to take care of my dad? Maybe you should consider changing your job. It's gonna be awkward at your current company anyway. Don't say it like it's easy. Please, I'm sorry for the affair. Come back to me. It's impossible. I've already arranged for a transfer at work, and our daughter is preparing to transfer schools too. I don't want to get divorced.
Then, in the cafe, he started crying loudly. He looked like a child who couldn't get the toy he wanted. I was so embarrassed that I decided to leave him there and walk out. He continued to cry even after I left. And it seems some young people in the cafe found it amusing and recorded it, uploading it to social media with a blurred face. Although the video was quickly removed, it seems his colleagues saw it. We officially divorced through our lawyers. I demanded a lump sum in alimony from both my ex-husband and his mistress. I also arranged for my ex to pay child support for our daughter, with my lawyer making sure he keeps up with the payments. His mistress ended up divorcing her husband too. My ex-husband was also sued for alimony by her ex-husband. Both my ex and his mistress found it hard to stay at their jobs and left, seemingly running away. They dated for a while, but she left him because she didn't want to take care of his parents. She's still young, so she probably ran off to some other guy. Now, my ex has to take care of his father at home, so he's not working full-time, just getting by with part-time jobs. As for me, I'm focusing on my work in my new department. I've been given important tasks and even got a small raise. My daughter had to transfer schools, but she's made friends quickly and seems happy. I've become a single mother, but I have no regrets. I'm sure my parents are watching over me. I want to live strongly, watching over my beloved daughter's growth. My name is Sarah Waters. I've been married for 4 years, but it's the second marriage for my husband. He has a high school-aged son named Mike, who is right in the middle of his rebellious phase. No matter how kind I am, he just won't accept me. Susan is living with her grandson Mike, but she's spoiling him terribly. Hey, Susan is incredibly indulgent with Mike. She buys him anything he wants. Isn't that fine? My husband, who grew up being pampered himself, seems to think this is normal and doesn't see anything wrong with it. As a result, I'm treated more like a household employee. But we're not exactly living in luxury, and it's quite a struggle. Susan, you left the lights on again. So? It would help if you could turn them off. It saves on the electricity bill. That's not a big deal, is it? But the electricity bill is. If it bothers you that much, you turn them off. No need to mention it every time. You really have a bad attitude. This isn't about my attitude. It's about hers. After all, my husband is just a regular office worker. Of course, I work too, but we need to save as much as we can for Mike's potential college expenses. Mike, you left the faucet running. Could you use a basin to wash your face? Man, you're annoying. It's not a big deal. You always sweat the small stuff. No matter what I say, these two don't care. I thought about asking my husband to talk to them, but he's not much better. He says sorry when I point things out, but he doesn't seem to have any intention of changing. And at dinner, what's this? Leftovers from yesterday? Mike gets in a bad mood if he doesn't see freshly made dishes every time.
This was made today. I want all new dishes. And there should be 3. Otherwise, it just doesn't feel right.
He's so picky about his meals, it's like dealing with a prince. Then my mother-in-law chimes in.
That's right. Serving leftovers is just laziness on the part of a housewife.
Cooking is a basic duty, after all.
But it's wasteful not to eat leftovers.
If you think it's wasteful, you eat them.
Don't make Mike eat leftovers. And that goes for my son too. And what's with this dish? Is it made from vegetable scraps? I made it from vegetable peels.
That's so stingy.
It just screams poverty. You're not supposed to use vegetable peels. They're nutritious. It's another dish if you use them.
Why do you have to be so poor?
It's like you're saying my son's salary is low, so you have to do this. That's not true. But yes, we are trying to save money. Oh yeah, for cooking, make sure to buy and use the expensive bottled water. Ever since you came, the meals have been awful.
I thought tap water should be just fine, especially since it's boiled. What is she even thinking?
Oh, and about the tub. There's grime floating in it after you shower. Is it dirty?
Yes. It's always like this. Even when I try to make a light lunch, she doesn't like it and ends up taking Mike to a restaurant. Because of this, Susan's allowance runs out fast, and she starts asking me for money.
I thought I just gave you some. That was gone in no time. Plus, it was so little, I can't buy the things Mike wants. You might not care since he's not your kid, but to me, he's my dear grandson. I want to buy him everything he desires, since you won't.
Such sarcasm. One day, the topic of building a house came up. Of course, I was against it, but they wouldn't listen.
It's fine. We can just leave the mortgage for Mike's generation.
That seemed unfair.
Right, as long as Mike inherits it, no problem at all.
Neither my husband Kyle nor Susan seemed to think it was unfair.
But we're barely saving a little as it is.
Whoa.
You've got savings? That's awesome.
No worries, then. Kyle just didn't understand. And eventually, the new house was built.
Life's tough enough, and now we'll have a mortgage.
I couldn't bear the thought of more sacrifices for this family. They were all dreaming about life in the new house, not considering my feelings. Then, on moving day, Mike and Susan said to me,
"Take care of all the housework and give us our allowance every week. And cover part of the rent, too."
I couldn't believe it and finally spoke up. "I'll pass."
What? I'll pass on what? Backing out of being a maid now?
Please. I had a feeling they treated me like a maid, but hearing it directly was too much.
I'm not part of this family, so I won't be moving to the new house. What? Who's going to cook then?
Yeah. And who'll clean? Do it yourself. What a foolish woman. We thought we'd take you as a substitute maid. Really?
What a waste for the new house. Well, do this last thing for us. Carry all these boxes to the new house.
Joking again.
Who'd do that?
Carry your own boxes.
How rude! After all the patience we've shown, now you get all high and mighty about moving?
Grandma, it's fine. We'll be rid of her. No more nagging about saving money.
That's true. But where will you live?
This apartment's a rental. Once my son moves, you can't stay here. Don't worry.
I've found a place that suits me. You've been looking? You planned this from the start?
Yes.
No matter how hard I tried, you never understood. I don't want to be at your mercy anymore. Does Kyle know? He doesn't. But I've reached my limit.
Well, we don't need you.
It's a relief you're leaving.
So, the selfish son and his doting mother moved out with their belongings. Once they were gone, I started moving to my new place. A small apartment, peaceful and within my budget. No more complaints about saving money. Such a stress-free life. But that night, I got a call from Kyle. "Sarah, what's going on?" "Oh, welcome back." "Not welcome back. I was shocked to come home from work and find you gone." "Sorry, I'm not going to that house."
Why not?
I just can't agree with your way of thinking."
What do you mean you can't agree? We're a married couple. This is like separation.
"Yes, I guess it is."
It's not I guess it is. Not moving together, without any discussion.
"Yeah, we didn't discuss it."
That's what I mean. Why go ahead without discussing it with me?
There were a lot of things. I tried talking to you about them sometimes, but you never really paid attention.
Did that really happen?
It did. Like how no matter how much I save, no one helps.
That's not really something to discuss. And it's too trivial.
Trivial? Isn't it important for our household budget?
Why? We're able to save, aren't we? It's not a problem.
It was necessary for saving. And you call it trivial? Ah. Sorry. It's not trivial to you. Huh? Because even with all the saving, it doesn't make that much difference. Typical woman, right? It's not about being a woman or a man, is it? Maybe. But I think saving is pointless.
That's it. You never care about the efforts I make for everyone's sake. When I serve leftovers, I get complaints, and I'm fed up with Susan and Mike too.
Hey, I can't just let that go.
But it's true. They're always asking for more allowance, call me stingy if I don't give, and then treat me like a maid. It can't be helped. You're a wife to me, but you can't be a mother to Mike. It's natural for mother-in-laws and daughters-in-law to have issues. What you're saying, they're just normal things, not really problems or something to discuss.
You really think that way? I can't stand it, that's why I'm saying I've had enough.
Don't say that. We can't pay the mortgage without you, can we?
Yes, we need 2 incomes to pay it, don't we?
If you know that, come back. No. I was against building that house. I clearly explained that our finances couldn't handle it, didn't I? Well, we can pay it off, can't we? We have Mike, after all. Relying on the child like that. What if he leaves home? Who will pay then? He won't leave home. You can't know that. You're worrying too much. Just like the thought of you leaving home, it's something that just can't happen. I don't understand how you can be so sure. Because we're married. As for the house, I know you were against it. But you were the only one. The other 3 of us agreed. It was a majority decision, so it's settled. Come back, or the mortgage will be a problem.
You want me to come back because of the mortgage? Yeah, that's right. What other reason would there be? Nothing like I love you or I don't want to be apart.
Such girly stuff? No way.
Girly.
Look, if we can't pay the mortgage, we'll lose the house. You don't want that, do you?
Not really. Maybe it's better if it's taken away.
Don't say that. It's tough already. You know how much trouble it would be if you're gone.
Yes, I'm well aware. Especially since your company went bankrupt. That's right. You haven't told your mom about that yet?
Of course not. Why would I? It would just worry her unnecessarily.
While you're telling me to come back to help pay, you won't ask Susan for help? She's elderly, I can't ask her for that. And about the unpaid salary, any chance of getting it? No, that's unlikely.
Eh?
The boss skipped town.
What?
We all confronted him about the salary, but it seems hopeless now. When I went to the office today, he was gone, and the suppliers were panicking. Are you joking? You're almost $20,000 behind in salary, right? Can't help it. I'd make a fuss if it would help, but looks like I need to find another job.
That's why I said you should have quit, instead of building a house. But I only heard the company was in trouble after construction started. Stopping midway would have disappointed Susan and Mike too. I'm the one who's disappointed. I know, that's why I went ahead with it. Not that kind of disappointed. I'm disappointed in your shallow thinking.
So, let's work together as a couple.
It feels more like I'm the only one working hard.
That's not true.
I don't have a job now, but I will find one.
That's what people with job offers say. It's not settled for you. Don't be like that.
And I'm tired of being treated like a maid. A housewife is kinda like a maid, isn't she? What?
Susan was like that too, always busy in the kitchen.
That's not the point. Maybe, but that's how I see it. Once Mike gets married, there will be 2 maids. Just hang in there until then.
How could he say such a thing? A wife being treated like a maid as if it's normal. Kyle says let's work together, but it sounds more like you do all the work.
Hey! Just because I'm working, it's taken for granted that I should give an allowance. I can't agree with that.
That's petty.
The one who works gives money to the one who doesn't. It's normal, right? The money I earn is for the future and living expenses of the family, not for handouts. You're worrying too much.
Enough.
I can't do this anymore. I don't see what's so unbearable. Maybe you don't understand.
But I do.
I've decided it's the right time. I'll mail the divorce papers later, and you can file them at the office. Complaining about no income since the company went bankrupt, that's heartless. If you had told the family everything when it went bankrupt, it wouldn't be a big deal if I left. How could I say that? Besides, I didn't, so it's okay. It's not okay, that's why I'm saying it. You'll have no place to live if you cancel the lease on that apartment, right? No, I've already secured another place to live. I want to live in a place suited for me. It's better to live comfortably within my means than to struggle with high expenses. That's too soon. Plan your spending, like the TV commercials say. I'm just being strategic. Too strategic.
Kyle kept saying let's get back again and come back, but it was impossible, so I hung up. 3 months passed without a word from him. I thought maybe he had given up and was trying hard. But it turned out he wasn't. He had finally found a job, but it was just part-time, and he was struggling, now asking me for help.
It's been a while, Sarah. Are you doing okay?
Oh, Kyle.
What about you? Are you okay? Yeah, sort of.
You don't sound so sure.
Well.
Did you find a job?
Yeah, kind of.
You're really beating around the bush, aren't you?
Actually, I've only been able to find part-time work.
For the entire 3 months? No, just recently.
What?
I've been at home, jobless, all this time.
So, you mean you haven't been working?
Right.
And Susan and Mike still don't know?
No.
I told them a week ago. What about until then? I said I was working from home. They believe that? Both of them? Yeah, when I said I switched to remote work, they just said it was something new. New? Yeah, remote work is becoming more common. Sure, but still, how much did they believe?
I'm trustworthy, you know. Trustworthy.
I don't think that's the point. How did you pay the mortgage for 3 months? From savings. So, you mean your savings are gone now?
Yeah.
You're taking this quite lightly. What can I do? Worrying won't help, and I don't want to go bald. Is that your concern? That's why I'm contacting you. I would have preferred to discuss this in person, but I don't know where you are. If you tell me your address, I can come over. No, don't come. That's harsh. We're still married, aren't we? Wait, we're not married, are we?
We are.
Why? I sent you the divorce papers. They must have arrived. Yeah, they arrived. But I didn't want to file them. So, we're sort of separated, but still married. It's not sort of. I told you I want a divorce.
I don't want that. Without you, who will help me in tough times?
Is that why you contacted me now?
You figured it out. Good I didn't file for divorce, huh? Since we're married, you'll help me, right? What a person he is. Always trying to take advantage of me? Can you file the divorce papers quickly? I thought we were already strangers. It's a hassle to remarry. Let's just stay as we are.
I'm not planning to remarry.
Don't say that. I'm really in trouble here. All I can do is sigh. Is he shameless or just hopelessly optimistic? So, when you told Susan and Mike you're working part-time, did they say they'd help? They were angry I didn't tell them sooner. That's understandable. So, did they agree to help? They said it's a tough situation. So, did they say they'd help? Yes or no? No. I thought as much. I never thought those two would come together to make an effort. But at least Kyle is Susan's son. I had a little hope they wouldn't say he had to handle everything alone, but it seems my expectations were completely shattered. So basically, only you need to work hard? Well, can't help it. I'm the head of the family. If I don't work, no one else will. Susan is 70 years old, and their son, Mike, is still in high school. But that doesn't mean they can't do anything. Are you saving money? You're not still living luxuriously, are you? We're not living in luxury. Insisting on having 3 dishes for a meal? That's only natural. You don't feel like you've eaten without at least 3 dishes, right? Not eating leftovers. That's natural too. Leftovers are just waste. What about lunch? Eating out? Yeah, we do. Are you kidding? With no money, why would you allow that? Can't help it. Mom says she prefers it that way. That's just wanting to live luxuriously. Mom worked hard when I was a kid. I want to make life easier for her now. But you don't have the means for that.
That's why I'm asking you for help. Come on, Sarah, help me out, please.
No matter how much you ask, I've decided to divorce. I don't want to continue with someone who has such an unreasonable lifestyle. If you don't file the divorce papers soon, I'll demand alimony.
Sorry. That's a problem. I'll go to the office and file them tomorrow.
Once you've filed them, don't involve me ever again.
Okay, but please, help me out.
Kyle understood but actually didn't. Until the very end, he kept asking for my help. But I couldn't bring myself to help them, living so recklessly and still not wanting to change their lifestyle. About a month later, I got a call from Susan.
Kyle has disappeared. Are you hiding him?
I don't know.
You must know.
What happened?
That boy wasn't working. He didn't tell us the company went bankrupt, just said he was working from home. When he finally admitted he only found part-time work, he disappeared. Now we can't pay the mortgage.
That's tough.
Why are you talking like it's none of your business? This happened because you left the house.
I didn't leave on a whim. I said I wouldn't move with you, and you agreed.
If you were here, we could have paid the mortgage.
I'm not sure about that. Even with me there, nothing would have changed unless Kyle found a job.
If you were here, we could have at least paid the mortgage.
With the way you were living luxuriously without saving, even I couldn't have paid it. Why did he leave? Did you say something to corner him?
I didn't say anything like that. I just told him what would we do since he only works part-time. He's the only one who can work.
That would make anyone want to leave. There's no spirit of helping each other in the family.
That's pointless to say now.
Well, true. I don't know where he is.
We're family, you should know.
Huh? I'm divorced. We're not family anymore.
Lies?
Oh, Kyle didn't tell you that?
I haven't heard. I thought you would help us out in a pinch.
Oh, that's absolutely not happening.
How could you? Why are we divorced?
The reason is your and Mike's selfishness.
Don't say that. Please help. I'll do anything.
I refuse.
What a terrible woman you are.
Mike's voice came through, hurling insults at me, so I hung up. Kyle never returned. Eventually, Susan made a tough decision and sold the house. But even after selling it, there was some mortgage left. She moved to a rundown apartment and did odd jobs and part-time work as much as she could. But the strain was too much, and she eventually became bedridden. When Mike, not knowing what to do, asked her for advice, she said, "Ask Sarah for help," and he came to me. Help me. A dejected Mike.
Are you working a part-time job?
No.
What about school?
I'm going.
So, you're just trying to take the easy way out.
Impossible.
Come back when you've really hit rock bottom. What do you mean? Why are you continuing in a private high school with no money? No one will help someone who doesn't work a part-time job and just asks for help. That's harsh. Dad said I should at least finish high school. That doesn't mean it has to be a private school. You could transfer to a correspondence course. You should be able to work while studying. It's too easy to expect help without doing anything yourself. That's tough.
Mike had thought he would get help, but he was told he was being naive and left. He actually dropped out of high school and started working in a factory. Now, he is living a modest life while working. When I saw him on the street the other day, he had a refreshingly clear expression I had never seen before. In my heart, I cheered him on, "Keep it up."